Let me whip up the PNF agenda. All right. As you just heard, the engineer has two things he wants to add to our 3 items. Paul, you just want to tell us briefly what they are in case there's somebody.
Yep.
Go ahead.
First item, Mr. Chair, is what I have labeled as a COVID emergency service level agreement between the city and Anderson Brothers. And this is just in case it takes out a few of our street department employees and we run into a big snowstorm where we can't handle it with our staff that's healthy. And the second item is an MS4 NPDES program proposal for services.
Okay. Did you all hear that?
Yes.
All right. So we actually need to officially open the meeting and do roll. And so it is Monday, November 16th, 7 p.m. Engineer Sandy, will you call the roll?
Evans,
Here.
Lamb,
Here.
Here.
Thank you. We're all here. We have the 3 posted agenda items, and Engineer Sandy has asked that we accept 2 additional items. One is the COVID emergency snow plowing agreement with Anderson Brothers, and the other is the MS4. Is there a motion to accept the amended agenda?
Lambert, so move.
Erickson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Or no, I'm
Aye.
sorry. Mr. Engineer Sandy, will you call the roll?
Yep. Erickson,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, we will move forward with 5 agenda items. Item number 1 is improvements 13-21, 19-09, 19-16, 19-20, 19-21, the Northeast Brainerd Reconstruction Project. The final pay estimate. Mr. Engineer, anything you'd like to highlight?
So this was our reconstruction that we did on B Street and 5th Avenue Northeast in Northeast Brainerd. You can original project cost of $1,950,724.87. We had change orders 1 through 3, which added $62,815. So the revised contract amount is just over $2 million. The final contract amount is $932,848.07, which is about a little under 1% under the original contract amount and about 4% under the revised contract amount. So staff is recommending approval of the final pay estimate to Anderson Construction in the final amount of $1,932,848 for this pay estimate, and that is subject to the approval of bills and payments to contractors on the PNF agenda. One of them comes from 1, but we have some sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and any of the roadway costs are reimbursed through state aid, as these were both state aid streets. We did have a couple of locally funded streets also. So the project gets split up and gets paid from numerous funds. Once we have the final payout done, we go through and do the math and figure out how much cost from each fund is attributed for the total project cost.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Any questions of Mr. Sandy?
Erickson, motion to approve.
Lambert, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Erickson,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, that motion passes. Item number 2 is improvement 17-06, 17-07, the 8th Street and 10th Avenue Northeast reconstruction. final pay estimate. Mr. Engineer, anything you'd like to highlight?
Yes, thank. So this project was substantially 2019. We finished up some turf establishment items and other punch list 20. You can see the original contract project cost was $1,017,349. We had about $10,000 in contract changes, change orders 1 and 2, which lead revised contract of $1,026,000 and some change. The final contract cost based on the measured quantities in the field is $1,582.06, which is about 1.65% under the original contract and 2.56% under the revised contract cost. So once again, is recommending the approval of that attached final pay Anderson Brothers of $1,582.06, and that is also subject to bills and payments to contractors on the PNF agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Is there any questions of Paul?
Mr. Chair, I just
Yes,
want to
Jan.
say I appreciate that we're under budget on both of these, so that's very nice. So thanks, Paul, and your crew. And I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations of staff.
And I'll second it. Erickson.
Motion Lambert, second Erickson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Erickson,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes. That motion is approved and will be passed on to the full council. Item number 3 is a proposal for professional services 2022 Highway 25 trail construction. Mr. Engineer, would you like to hit the highlights?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to kind of walk through how we've gotten to this point for this project. So the city applied for a federal grant program called Transportation Alternatives, which is a program that provides funding for sidewalk and trail projects. It is and MnDOT is the holder of the funds, so we work through our state aid office. We were awarded funds for a trail connection, which runs on the south side of Highway 25, Northeast and 28th Street. When we were applying for this project, we were already in conversation the bridge replacement over the railroad tracks on Highway 25 when you're coming into Northeast Brainerd. They are including a separated trail on that bridge, part of their construction project. And so with the award of those funds and the MnDOT bridge project, we actually decided to construct this project in advance of the funds being distributed. So these funds were to be distributed in 2024. Because MnDOT is constructing their bridge in 2022, it makes sense for the city to do their work at the same time. And so this will inevitably become part of the city's Cayuga Lake State Trail connection, which the city has hired SEH to do the preliminary engineering, design, and construction engineering of that segment, which goes from 28th Street over to the Buffalo Hills Trail, where it starts at Norwood Street. And so because SEH has been a part of this, these trails since their inception, city staff, because these are federal aid projects, there's a lot of environmental work that takes place with the projects, and there's a lot of additional record keeping and paperwork that needs to take place as part of these. We do typically consult out these federal projects. The last one we did was our Safe Route School project in Northeast Brainerd. So the city staff went to SEH and requested they provide a proposal for engineering and construction engineering services for these federally funded trail projects, along with the MnDOT Bridge project. You can see that attached as part of this agenda request. Can be seen attached for engineering services is from SEH is $77,750. And it basically includes everything to deliver a federally funded construction project from start to finish. The city has worked very well with SEH on these federally funded trail projects and sidewalk projects in the past. And we're for them. And so we would like to continue working with them on both the Cayuna Lake State Trail and this federally funded project, as they are integrated more or less as one project. So what step SEH for the preliminary engineering design and construction engineering services for the Highway 25 trail that goes from 5th Avenue Northeast to 20 for 2022 construction.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Is there any questions of Paul? I have one. Wayne, did you have one? I saw you lit up. No?
No, go ahead.
My question, Paul, and I'm 100% in favor of this, but it's only sort of an associate to this part of the project. The Mill Avenue to Riverton, is there any pencil drawings of where that's going to go?
As far as an alignment corridor is what you're talking, Mr. Chair?
Correct. I have seen one years ago that went somewhere out by French Rapids of all things and kind of followed the river from there. But I haven't seen or heard anything in a decade. And I personally do the Cayuna Trail from Riverton to Crosby is just gorgeous. So I'd like to see it connect someday.
Yeah, so if I may, Mr. The Cayuna Trail, the Cayuna Trail Association, that is main purpose and goal is to connect that Riverton segment to the Brainerd segment. And so I think it's the Cayuna Lakes Trail Association, I believe. That is their sole purpose, and they are continually working and trying to get funding from the legislature to get that trail connected from where they've left off in Riverton down to Brainerd. I've seen some conceptual drawings. I know that the alignment and the topography is difficult through some of those areas, and to meet the DNR standards, there's certain things and criteria they have to meet. So, what we want to be ready to do is once they're ready to construct it, we're out of town. We're connected all the way through town, so they have an area to connect into. So we're ready to go. With the DNR funds of 1.1 million and this construction project, we'll have a fully connected trail segment through town that'll connect to the Paul Bunyan Trail.
Thank you. I just hope it doesn't follow 210 like an extra highway lane leaving town.
There's a lot of talk about it going back behind the airport, like you had indicated.
Yeah. All right. Unrelated to this project, is there any questions on this recommended action? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept staff's recommendation and execute the $77,750 contract with SEH for this portion of the trail?
So move.
Lambert, second.
Motion Erickson, second by Lambert. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Erickson,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes, that motion is approved. We'll move on to number 4, which is our COVID emergency agreement with Anderson Brothers. Mr. Engineer, do you want to get the highlights?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So guys were reading the Brainerd Dispatch here earlier last week, it had indicated that Crow Wing County had entered into 2 agreements, one with Anderson Brothers and one with Hangle Construction, to provide the county with emergency personnel if needed during the COVID pandemic, mostly as it relates to plowing. If we get into a situation where we have 3 or 4 street department personnel sick with COVID and can't come to work, it may lead to that we're in a pinch and we need additional drivers to operate plow equipment to get the city unburied. And so this is basically a mere copy of the county's agreement with Anderson Brothers, where it outlines what services they could provide. It goes through all the legalese, and then it has more or less a work order at the bottom with pre-approved hourly pricing for snowplow operators, laborers, truck drivers, heavy equipment. Happen to run into an emergency, we have these hourly costs agreed to, and the work orders would be approved by both myself and Terry McFarland, who is the president and CEO of Anderson Brothers. Once that work order is approved, we would move forward with the work as presented in the work order. And really, it's just, and if we do run into a situation where we're in need of additional help, the scope of work kind of lays it out. If there's any other emergency situations that arise, guardrail repairs, roadway failures, anything that happened and we don't have the personnel available due to COVID, we would have this available to us through this agreement. The city attorney has reviewed it and gave his blessing on it, and so I'm available to answer any questions if you guys have them.
Any questions of the engineer?
I think it's a great idea, and I'd like to make a motion to recommend this to the city council.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just gonna have you hang on 1 second, Wayne. Go ahead, Jan.
So Paul, how does this affect the downtown? Is that a totally different issue?
Yeah, so we're already contracted through a competitive bidding process with Tom to do that work.
So they're responsible for that.
It's entirely responsible for that.
Okay.
This would be for anything that our street department staff
Sure.
perform.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, we've got a motion by Erickson. Is there a second, Jan?
Lambert, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Erickson,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, that motion carries. Item number 5 is the MS4 Stormwater Program Updates. Mr. Engineer, can you bring us up to speed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So during the 2021 budgeting process, city staff were planning on including some professional services to apply and obtain the city's new MS4 permit. The permit just came out on Monday. It was Friday, I think it came out. And if you don't know, the MS4 is the city's stormwater system, and the MTCA regulates stormwater discharge to the Mississippi River and Little Buffalo Creek, which is our whole system. And as part of that, every 5 years, the city has to reapply for coverage under the MS4 program through the MTCA. With that application comes what we call a stormwater pollution and prevention plan, which is a large document that provides the city with measurable goals and what we call minimum control measures to evaluate our system for water quality, sediment, that kind of thing. And so back when this MS4 program was kind of commenced, that was back in 2007 and 2008. He hired Bone Stroke Engineering, which did a full SWIP document for us, or a storm prevention plan, and applied for coverage under the MS4 program through the MPCA. 13, the city had to reapply for that coverage, which when I came on board around August of 2015, and we were still in the application. We were able to work our way through the application using our existing SWIP plan. However, which there's a lot of additional control measures that the city needs to implement in their plan, along with a TMDL, or a total maximum daily load, that the city is going to be responsible for come the next permit cycle. And so what we're currently accountable for a draft TSS, which is a total suspended solid maximum put into the Mississippi River. And so the more work we can do on the front end of getting ready for that TMDL, the better off we're going to be. And planning on budgeting for this through the 2021 budget process to have a go through our full SWIP plan and apply for our coverage. However, we just want to get a head start on it. And so what you'll recall that they've been doing a lot of stormwater stuff for us of recent in the city, more related to our stormwater retrofit study and our H&H model. What we're asking for is HR Green to do what we call a phase one, which is more of a self-audit of our current MS4 system, or our plan, and also to apply for our permit on behalf of the city. And then once the self-audit is complete, move into the early parts of 2021 into an MS4 stormwater program update, which would get compliance with the new permit requirements and provide the city with a new plan and that we're going to do in the summer cycles. And so the phase one that they're wanting to get started on here before the end of the year is projected to be, where was it? About $15,000. So there's a $2,000 what was it? It's $15,000 total. It's basically doing the self audit with the and beginning the application process, and then when 2021 we'll have budgeted for the full program update, which they're calling phase two. Phase two on the existing guidelines, all our ordinances, our webpage. Look for workflows and identifying areas of non-compliance with the new permit in our stormwater program. So that's kind of what we're asking for, is to get an early start on this and allow staff to for that first 15,000 of this, and then have the full revision for the 2021 budget out of the stormwater fund.
Any questions of the engineer?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Jan.
Sorry, I just want to say, I think this is what Paul has been telling us through the last 4 years, that we are going to have a stricter permit process, correct, Paul?
Yeah, you've kind of known that this TMDL was going to, at some point, be responsible for it for this first 5-year permit cycle. But doing the SWIP plan to incorporate the TMDL right now is in our best interest, because we can actually start implementing some of our new stormwater practices out of our retrofit plan to
Sure.
show the MTCA that we're trying to meet their TMDL before it even comes down in the next permit cycle.
Okay. Well, I have a motion if nobody else has any
I
questions.
have a question. Hang on, Jen. Paul, where does the 15 grand come from?
It'll come out of the stormwater
Budget for
fund
it.
238, Kelly. We were gonna budget the full amount, which HR Green has indicated that the phase 2 is gonna be approximately 80 to 90,000. With the phase 1, it's gonna be right around that $100 to $105,000 mark. I'm currently working with the finance director on the budgets. So Connie will have an update at the budget workshop with a full overview, I think, of those enterprise funds and what they're looking like. So.
All right, 15 grand this year from 238, 80 to 90 grand next year to be discussed at the budget meeting.
Okay.
That's what I needed to know. Jan, you're up.
Okay, I so move to follow the staff recommendation of going into partnership with HR Green for the tone of $15,000.
Perfect. Wayne, you want to second that?
Second?
Any further discussion? Mr. Engineer, will you call the roll?
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, that motion passes. We are adjourned for 4 minutes.